Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, December 21st, 2023 meeting of the Litchfield Board of Selectmen. We have just come out of a paperwork session and we'd like to kick this meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Does everybody please rise? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a short board tonight. We have Mr. Weber has got a scheduling conflict and Mr. Lynch is still not feeling well. So we're down to three. We have Mr. Gannon and Ms. Queen here with us. So that's how I look at it. Whoever's here is the A-team. All right, up first, we have a review and approval of consent items. We have an AP manifest for December 19th, 2023 in the amount of $118,641.27. Payroll manifest for December 21st, 2023 in the amount of $50,545.42. Anything that anyone has discussion on? If not, we'll need a motion for consent.
I'll make a motion to consent.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion from Ms. Queenan and a second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. Any additional items anyone wants on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 PM. All right, up first, approval of the minutes for December 11th, 2023. Most of us just looked at them and don't see any issues. We have a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve December 11th, 2023 minutes.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Queenan,
I will second.
second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. 2024 warrant articles update. Ms. Kleiner.
So, I'm going to start off, I think you'll notice that we have quite a few people in the audience.
We do.
And so they're here to support and answer any questions on an item that we'd like to talk about. And the reason I'm talking about it in the 2024 warrant articles is the team has gone back and forth on whether we brought this to you as just an item for your consideration or whether we brought it to you as a draft warrant article. And since here we are at the last meeting of December, we'd like you to consider it. And I'd like to explain to you why we think it does not need to be a warrant article. And then we'll let you make your decision. So this is an item that we talked about many, many months ago.
Thank you.
And I'll post this later in case someone would like to see it. Last fall, when I joined the town, I was completing a project for my certification and asked the board what was a project that they wanted done. And this was the project that they chose. Back in Appendix A of our personnel plan, there's a whole section on Litchfield's wage plan and the intentions for how it's to be maintained. Unfortunately, it never has. So you have a wage plan that's in our personnel policy that basically is 2014. And the personnel plan clearly states that it will be updated, states how it will be updated in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, all using NHMA salary studies. So what the department heads and I did over the course of this last year was just that. We reviewed all the job descriptions. They worked with their teams very hard to make sure that everything was included, that we could rank everything, that we could look at everything appropriately. And then we went out and we looked at the NHMA salary data. And we put together these wage scales that, although they are very conservative, very on the conservative side, the low end in comparison to other towns, we thought it was a starting point to at least bring the town up to 2022, not even looking at really the 2023, because of course we started the project in 2022. We did update these wage scales to include the 3% that was given to the staff this past July. What we're asking is that the wage scales in the personnel policies be implemented and be updated with this current information. And we think there's a way to do it, although I understand that in the past they've gone to warrant article. The authority lies with this board. We are not a union. There's no union contract. This isn't a multi-year implementation. We have figured out how we can put all of the existing staff on the new scales at a cost you see in front of you of $36,890. And the way that this can be done with the existing budget is the $20,000 that is in the personnel line that's normally budgeted for salary increases, and the $16,896 that's in the unanticipated funds, which was the state's reimbursement on our pension costs last year. That would cover the entire implementation of the plan.
Do you have the current scales?
The current scales, no, they're in the,
Is it that here, or?
can certainly get them.
Yeah, you can get those to us. We can look at them. I know that we've been underfunded for a while, so, we would like to take a look at it.
Our concern is that if the board does decide that this is a warrant article,
Mhm.
here we are. We're at the last meeting of the last, and frankly, up against budget committee. It would have been a budget item, so it should have
Mhm.
gone to the budget
Yep.
committee.
Yep.
But we don't believe that it requires to go to warrant article, especially when we have the existing funding to implement it.
How will this be handled in the future? You said the plan had to be updated, what did our policy
So-
say?
So-
6 years.
Every 6 years?
No, it hasn't been updated.
It
No,
hasn't
but
been
what is it
updated.
supposed to be doing?
In 8 years.
Every 8?
It was supposed to be looked at every year. And, you know, I think, and Karen can probably speak to this better than I can because I wasn't here, I'm only hearing stories of how this didn't occur. But I assume that it went to warrant article. You know, part of the issue, I fully understand, you have a union contract, it must go to warrant. What happens to unaffiliated employees is they get lost. If you're not updating their salaries and updating their personnel policy, these are the employees
Mhm.
that get left out. And so if you look at the increases to the union over the years, to the increases of the unaffiliated, you're gonna see a great variance. It just happens naturally if you do not address the unaffiliated salaries. I can tell you that one of the things that this has been a big issue, right? So the governor went 10% to all state employees across the board. The municipal managers of New Hampshire We did a study, and most towns, and cities are averaging 5.7% adjustment to wages. Part of that is the inflation over the past couple of years, and part of that is when you're dealing with tough budgets, the people that get overlooked are the employees. That's just natural. It happens. You have to plow the streets, you have to, provide emergency services, so it's what happens. But what we're seeing across the state is a lack of available employees to hire. And so if you look at, whether you look at NHMA or you look at anywhere, you'll see that cities and towns are struggling to hire, and they're poaching from other people. Probably one of the departments that have seen that the most would be the town clerk and tax collectors, that are actively looking for people. Why? Because you cannot replace the experience of a municipal employee. If you've got someone that's got 5 years on the job, they have an incredible amount of knowledge, generally by then certification, and that can't be replaced. So, I think we need to address it. I wanted to allow them the opportunity to speak, or for you to ask them questions, but I really feel we're doing the town an injustice if we don't address our employees.
So this was run by the legal and that we have authority to do it?
You have authority to do it under the personnel plan.
Today, they get yearly raises, like 3 to
3%,
5?
yeah.
So they have that. I just wanna make
Right, so
sure-
the difference in the difference in the steps
Yeah,
is
Okay.
3%.
if this
That's correct.
happened, I look at the breakdown here on the full year, a disruption to any of these groups, I think is gonna be worth more than that, right? Affecting going forward, two things, I guess. If this goes up by 36,000 now, how does that affect the budgeting in the future? We have to have that next year as well in the budget, right?
Well, so you have to remember, the 36 is high, number one, because we are putting people onto the wage.
They were playing
So
catch
you
up.
have people that are way, way too low, some jobs that are way too low, and putting them onto the scale where they should be is more than 3%.
So you pay this one time, they're caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then in the future though, now their pay is going up as well, right? That's what-
Right,
Question.
so each year they'd get a step, and the step is equal to 3%.
So how are we funding that? Just, we're gonna have to maybe how are we gonna fund that? It's not a big.
So
delta here.
we would take right now you have $20,000.
Yeah, I see the
which
breakdown.
this past year, that funded 3% for everyone, right? Because that's what the board
Personnel line, yeah.
chose. And I think when we figured it out, it was just short of $20,000, the 3% that was given in July. The other thing is, if you look at the existing plan you have now, when we hire, it's a guess. It really is. The jobs don't align. The jobs that are in the plan don't align with what we're hiring. The plan's too old. And we get into a really difficult situation when we're looking at, especially like highway, the transfer station. I mean, you're just not going to hire these people at $14 when Dunkin' Donuts is paying $18.
Where did that come? So it's supposed to be done yearly?
It's supposed to
Is this
be.
on the plan to be done yearly now?
So if you have a wage plan like this, you can get away with every couple of years going out and doing a salary study. It's not difficult. All this information is kept in a database and used by all of us. But go out, check, and see where you are. You have to pull it by job. So some jobs may raise higher than others because of the demand out there in the market. So you may find that in a year, your highway is low because there's not a lot of those type of individuals available, so the towns are paying more. But you may find that, your finance hasn't risen at the same rate. But you need to look at it, and it's not hard to do.
Oh, no, I don't mean make this, you're saying this can be good for a while, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the review in the policy book said every year. Is that on our list now to do every year? Can we put it, do we have a yearly checklist? I know, I wanna make sure it gets on the yearly plan, is my point.
Well, I think that when we spoke last year, this was one of the things that the board felt really needed to be looked at. It was a big project.
No, I agree to that, but I'm just saying now, going forward, if the policy book says we have to look every year, maybe not create this, but just whatever the policy book is saying, we're supposed to look at something every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we make sure that's on our list for the Board of Selectmen that's on?
Sure.
Because that's all I'm asking about that. So we're gonna
Sure.
get everything hopefully synced up, but I'm interested in the budget piece of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be my concern too. I understand how it'll be paid this year. What would be the impact year over year over year? And I assume a lot of it is, say someone's just looking at, say, grade 8, step 4, they should be paid at that pay scale, but they're currently are not. So you're gonna bring them up to whatever that pay scale is. You're not gonna move them to a, step 5, whatever, grade 9 or something. You're just gonna make sure that pay scale matches what it's supposed to be.
Right. And so when you think of it, I'm gonna use highway for lack of
Because
a
he's
better.
easy to pick on.
Yeah, because it's easy to pick on.
I was gonna use that one too.
When you're looking to hire, you're generally hiring at step 1.
Yep.
But if you get someone that you're hiring and they've got a significant amount of experience, then you may go 2 or 3 steps up, because you want to compensate for that experience. And they're probably were making a higher wage to be prior.
Yep.
The other thing that this does is it motivates employees, because if you have a light equipment operator and that employee really wants to or needs to earn more money, they have the opportunity to look and say, well, hey, if I go get my heavy equipment operator, if I can do everything to satisfy those requirements, I see what's going to happen. And they really can't do that in the current plan, right? There's no line of succession. And you can do that you could say that same thing in the fire, right? Because you want to have your probationary fireman, you're coming in at a lower wage. But now, as I get my firefighter 1, or I get my firefighter 2, or, I'm gonna go and get my EMT, I can see how the town compensates for that. And it drives your employees to naturally progress and improve.
My concerns, and they're not really concerns, it's just point of interest, or point notes, is that we're getting this last minute. And we have to vote or bust on it for this year. Not that I don't think everybody's worth it, because I know we are underfunded, but whereas we've already presented our budget item, the warrant articles to the budget committee, they're gonna look at this and think the town's trying to slide one by them. Because there's other departments in town that have been accused of that. And I'll go to bat for it. I just think that in the future, and Kim and I have talked about this before at meetings, that we shouldn't get something the same night that we're expected to vote on it. We should have an opportunity to digest it and come up with questions, because, and like when I asked for the old scales, we don't have time to compare. We don't have a chance to go through and dig through it. That being said, I think it's a good plan. And I think that everyone is worth all this, although I will say, I don't know why our solid waste guy's getting such a smaller raise than the highway guy. But, I mean, that's just me. He's certainly not worse looking than the highway guy. Jeez. I think in the future that we need to get things so that we can look at them and ask proper questions before. So, and, you know,
So I
I mean, I'll take
believe,
the beating from the budget committee.
I believe back in
Big
May,
shoulders.
everyone got a binder.
Yeah, but we
And
didn't
we
know,
presented,
We know there was gonna be a pop quiz at a later date.
we didn't know it was gonna be a warrant article. Like, if this was in the works, we should have had some kind of an idea that it was gonna be happening. Is my only point. 'Cause we hadn't
I
heard
don't
anything.
think it should be a warrant article. But
The
that's-
budget committee will still tear it up, though. You know that. Because when we've done shifts in personnel before, we've actually had motions to cut salary lines out completely.
I
Like
would-
when we made the detective a salaried employee versus a contracted employee. There was motions to cut that salary line right out. That's the one I remember the most distinctly, but because they get the feeling that we're trying to slide one by them. And I don't care. I'll go to bat for these guys every day. And I have no problem with it. But I just think in the future, we just need to see things before we have to vote on them.
I do agree with you, but I also agree that, to me, this says that Kim has done her job.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
She's come, I
Without a
mean,
doubt.
when you look at it, it's broken down by each group, it's
Mhm.
significant. It's not as much as I would think.
No, it's good.
But it
It's
would be
very
the
good.
long-term
It
impact
absolutely is.
that will be questioned.
It absolutely is good.
So I understand this one more time
Yep.
for me. It's up 36,000
Mhm.
to 37,000.
Well, it's up 16 because we have 20 that they've
Oh, I
already,
know.
yep, so,
But now,
Yep.
now they're getting paid that next year.
Yep.
Where is this extra 36 coming from? Because-
Next year it won't
next
be
year,
36, it'll be 3% of whatever they're currently
Okay.
at.
So we're proposing that you start this,
this is
you
an
put
adjustment.
everyone
3%.
on January 1st. We couldn't do it January 1st because we'd have to wait for the budget to pass, right?
Mhm.
So then you could do it April and retro it to January 1st. Now, everyone's where they should be as of January 1st.
Mhm.
The $20,000 is already in the 2024 budget, and the 16,800 is already sitting in unanticipated.
Mhm.
That's the amount we had left over after a couple of things were paid that,
Yeah, and not for nothing, but the police contract was a little bit higher than we normally do, and I'm
It is.
assuming the teacher contract is gonna come in a lot higher.
I assume as
So
well.
I think we're keeping up with the Joneses. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I think down the road, we just need
I
to,
think it's because we're playing catch-up for something that hasn't been taken care of in a long time.
I would agree with that. And I think they're worth it, so.
And I think we're gonna get into issues when we go to hire. I think we already have. It's already been difficult, to bring people in, and unfortunately, when you do that and then you adjust it, now you've created inequity
Mhm.
across the board.
Yep.
Because that person's now making more because you had to, you just hired them, and the employee that's been with the town and deserves, is not recognized.
That's a point I've made many times. So, yeah, I don't know that this needs to go to warrant. I think we can implement it.
But we'll get you, you wanna make some copies for me? then you'll have that to go home. That's the old.
Yep. Okay. So, we need to make a motion to approve this. Does anybody have any more discussion on it? Okay. Well,
I do want to say it's the incredible work of everyone sitting in this room.
believe it.
They went through those job descriptions and, it was a lot of work. It took the full year of us having meetings and discussing it and going back and forth, so. I did get asked if I would present it at the NHMA conference, which I did, and they had a lot of kudos to the work that was put into it.
We have good people.
Yeah.
All right,
So what would you call this? Staff wage adjustment?
In the personnel policy, it's called the, 2014 wage plan. I tried to stay away from that. That looks really bad. But I would say the wage plan,
we call it 2023.
that's in Appendix A of the personnel policy.
Appendix A.
Yeah, it's in the appendix. Thank you, Terry.
So the motion will be to implement Appendix A of the personnel policy wage adjustment, I think.
Want me to make the motion? I will be glad to do that.
Sure.
Do you want me to get into the details of how we're paying for it, or just say, just approve it?
No, just to approve it.
All right, I make a motion to approve the wage plan in the Appendix A of the personnel policy.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Mrs. Queen and a second from Mr. Gannon. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 300.
Thank you very much.
Who brought refreshments?
Kevin's
There's
cupcakes.
cupcakes. There's cupcakes in the office.
That's all the cars out there?
And
I have my own water.
And since we're open all day tomorrow until 4 o'clock, we're having a little luncheon in here. Starting at 12, employees are gonna come and make sure that there's still coverage to all the services and take a chance to come in here and grab something and say hello to each other. So noon tomorrow, if anyone wants to stop by.
And I'd just like to personally thank all of you folks for the job you do for the town. You guys are the ones that keep it running. We just sit here and take the bullets. But you guys do a great job. We're very fortunate to have you.
Sometimes the beatings are worth it.
I got big shoulders. I grew up in a house of 10. I took my share of beatings. I can handle it. All right,
So.
so we're still in warrants.
Warrants. So there was 2 warrants that the library, which you didn't
Two, fine.
get to vote on because I didn't have enough information for you.
Fine.
Okay, the 2 of them for the library.
1 for the library, that I didn't have enough information and you know, Chairman Larry, that Vicky testified at the budget committee.
She did.
I thought she made a great argument as to why it was necessary. They only have 1 child librarian.
Yep.
There's been an increase in services, which is attracting more participants. They need to do more sessions. They want to also send that person to after-school activities. And have them participate in town events. And then, of course, they have the pavilion, which will bring even more opportunities. So I can't do it justice. I thought Vicki did a great job speaking to it, and you could definitely see the value in it. So your selectmen hadn't voted on that.
Yep.
If you see fit tonight.
Was that the only one, or wasn't there another one we didn't?
there's the community power,
Yeah, community.
which
power
we have to
and-
discuss tonight,
And the health, the budget, the operating budget.
the operating budget. And then there's one that needed to be added, and I just got the language from legal. That's the easement, which will become Article 13,
Which easement?
the easement at Brickyard. And so that easement has, I think we've been discussing this for a year. But legal said that it needed to go to town warrant because we hadn't, passed 4119. And that will be, we're granting them an access easement, to their existing structures there. In return, they will be paying the town for a fence that will, line that corridor. So this is legal's language. And that hasn't been voted on, but it's not a budget item that needs to go to budget.
And then, what about the water?
So, I have,
Don't ruin my night.
I'm sorry. So, I'll handle that now because there's a lot going on here. So, yesterday, the New Hampshire Department of Energy got involved. And they have filed an order now, putting Pennachuck's rate increase and their files on hold. There's question as to the legality of what Pennachuck is trying to do. Weston and Sampson was also not able to determine what the rate package that's been filed would actually do to the Pennachuck rates. So, we could go off of old information, but you have an existing case, which we are filing, we're petitioning to intervene in. Bedford has already petitioned to intervene as well. But we would have to turn around a bond and hold a public hearing on a bond by January 9th. And legal doesn't think we can do it. And neither does Weston and Sampson.
2 weeks? Wow.
They just don't. The other thing that legal wanted to make sure that we know is if it fails, we have to wait 2 years. So one of the considerations would be having a special meeting. I mean, really doing an education session. You can only bond through bond bank in January and July. But normally to bond, you would have started that conversation in October and November. You wouldn't approach bond bank now about a bond in January. So I think because of when the feasibility study was done, that's the first thing. Because it required so much time to do a really thorough study, we got too close to the deadline for warrants. I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing is Pennachuck coming behind and filing this new rate case, which we absolutely have to stay on top of and should be involved in. I spoke to council today, and they were filing the petition for intervention. We just don't have enough information. I mean, these filings are coming in daily. And this is a very complicated case. So Pennachuck is trying to combine Pennachuck Water, Pennachuck East, and Pittsfield into one company. And I believe the reason they're trying to do that is to adjust the rates, because they're up against what people, the state considers the max for water. So your water rate can only be a certain percentage of your household median income as determined by and they're up against that. So I think they're under the gun, and they're trying to remedy and keep under that max. But now if the DOE is saying that this filing isn't legally sound because you can't apply for a single rate case for 3 legally separate entities, that's gonna have to be figured out. This puts a moratorium, like this suspends the rate increase for 12 months. That's the filing that came up, that the DOE filed. So there would be no increase, we know that. So at least we know our residents aren't getting hit with an increase.
But there'll be no decrease either.
There'd be no decrease either.
We'll be paying fire hydrants for another year. Which makes a lot of my friends on the budget committee very anxious. We hear it every year.
Right, we do, yeah.
But having this filed before January 9th, we don't have enough time
Yeah.
to even get the information, enough information out there that an educated town would understand.
Because we'd have to have at least gone out and done some, what we call RFQs, and get some idea of what the cost would be to maintain our structure, right? What company would we use to come fix the pipes and fix the mains? How much would that be? At least a range, so that we know how to work that into the bond. I mean, Western Sampson has estimated it, but now when you go for the bond, you get real numbers. So there's quite a few pieces to do before you can even try to approach putting together a bond package.
It's not enough time.
Which isn't even us. I mean, if it was just us putting together the information, that would be one thing. But this relies on a lot of different pieces. I mean, information that we don't have.
July feasible? Not from the warrant article, but from the education point. Or do we still need more numbers, or do we have to wait for that
So
piece?
I certainly think you could put together the information to apply for a bond in July, right? There's definitely enough time within 6 months to put together a bond for bond purchase in July. The problem is you'd have to hold a special town meeting. I'm not sure that's a problem. I shouldn't say that's a problem.
But that would
I
be,
don't know how the town has handled that in the past.
They don't like special meetings.
I just assumed, but
This is good news, though.
it's a good special
It's a
meeting.
good special
Well, it
meeting.
is a good
And
special
if you-
meeting, but,
And come July, when people are paying high water bills because they're running the irrigation and pools and just, the water consumption's increased.
and I think we heard at budget committee some questions about people that are on wells
Yep.
voting for this, and if they don't properly understand it,
Yep.
my concern would be, these are big numbers, right? People, I mean, naturally see big numbers and shy away from it. And if we haven't had the time to do the education and it fails, we're sunk for 2 years.
Yep.
And in that time, this could be lifted and Penachuk could come through with rate increases that ultimately hurt our residents more.
That's what I'm
So
saying, the special meeting
I
really
think
can
we
be
have to get it
educate.
right.
It's a point for education for the next warrant article that comes out. And we
Right.
have, looks like we may have a 12-month buffer with a rate increase anyway.
Right.
It's still high, but at least, I'm just saying, use use it for some education, getting the word out.
I also don't know how, and this is an interesting process, how, if it becomes public knowledge that Litchfield is looking to purchase the system, how that might affect this rate case. I would have to think that the PUC is gonna be interested in that information. In my mind, it changes this quite a bit. So I think there's a lot of conversation that needs to take place between Weston, Sampson, legal, us, and the PUC.
My concern is that in a year, we might not have the steam to move this forward. Because right across the parking lot, they're going through their warrants at the school, and they're gonna have a very large one, 60-something million dollars for a new school. If that passes, which I don't think it will, I don't think there's any way the town's gonna approve a secondary bond. That's,
But
and
it's,
that's
there's a
the
return
main-
on investment here, there's the difference.
I know.
Yes.
But that is the reason stated by the superintendent why they did not go for a bond for the middle school project. When they should have gone for a bond, because that was a major project. So I don't, and again, I don't think, and I think this does a better service to the town than what's being proposed over there.
But it's also, so this is one of my big concerns,
Mhm.
is this bond does not impact the tax rate
Right,
or the budget. And I think that's gonna be
the key.
hard for people to understand, because Litchfield has never had it before, right? You've never had an enterprise fund. They're naturally going to see a bond on the warrant and think that's
Impact on their
impacting
taxes.
my taxes. So it's gonna be a lot of education to get people, I mean, I think we hold informational sessions. I think there's a lot that needs to be done, because otherwise they're just not gonna understand. It's not something that's easy to understand.
The number's gonna scare people, like you said, $20 million, and people are gonna think, what's that gonna do to my taxes? And the answer is nothing, and they're gonna wanna know how, why.
Right, how can how can it not?
Nicely written, but education, obviously, yeah.
Well, again, they need to know that the rates they're already paying to Pennachuck is going to pay for their own water system that they own. It's now gonna be owned by the people, so. And that their fire hydrant fees are going down, which will make a lot of people happy. And I think one of the members of the budget committee stated that, they say $1,000 a month in the summer he pays in a water bill?
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
That's
Grass is probably nice
crazy.
and green,
he's nice and green. He does have a nice lawn.
but
I
I
don't, mine's
do.
only 53.
My concern is that this may not, after what goes on there in the March election, that we may not have the ability to, with any level of education, to push it forward, so.
I think this would go through pretty easily once people understand
But you need 60% because it is a bond.
it is a bond, yeah.
But you
Is
just
it
said it
60
in
or
two
66?
sentences. Instead of
Two
paying
sentences?
Pennachuck, you're
2/3.
Yeah.
paying,
No, we know that.
no, but two sentences on the warrant article will be like, oh, okay, we're paying Pennachuck anyway now instead of
Yeah.
paying ourselves, right?
So the hydrant costs won't go away, it'll go down until a couple of years, and then it'll be,
And that's offset by the revenue we wouldn't get in taxes, so, I
Right.
mean, so that's kind of a wash, but at
It's
least now
all
the
in-
town owns them.
yeah, it's all in the education.
Yeah, and again, Hudson's rates haven't really gone up in 20 years,
Mhm.
so.
Hudson's been very successful with their state.
Mhm.
And I would say we reach out, and, you know, I know Elvis probably knows the system over there, frontwards and backwards, and,
He does.
So would we hold off on this and try to push it for a special meeting for July?
I don't see how we would have a bond number and
We'd
And,
have to, either we push it till July or we push it towards,
To the following year.
right.
to the following year.
And I would say how we see this going.
Yeah.
Because if this, we see this going poorly for our residents, we jump,
Right.
right? I mean, I think we have to. I don't think the residents can take any higher.
I'd rather
water
push
rates.
for July, and if we have to hold off till next year, but I think I'd rather see it move forward in July.
And where we have the petition to intervene, we're gonna be actively involved in the case. So, that was one of the difficult parts that Sampson and Weston and Sampson and I were having, is we couldn't get the documents, cause unless you have filed to intervene, you're waiting for these documents to get loaded to a public site, and there's quite a bit of time delay.
It's July, start educating them and get the public and they'll buy it. I think they'll embrace it.
It'll be another town meeting on top of the 4 we're gonna have already. We're gonna have 4 elections in town meetings.
But if it saves them this kind of money, long term, right?
Okay.
Why do you think they're gonna get fatigued?
Did we get that?
Fatigue?
Although it'd be in the middle, we would have only had the March election
Yeah.
in the primary. Then you'd have September and then November.
I don't think it's a problem, but people know you're trying to
The only
make
problem
their
you worry
lives
about is
easier, right?
people that are on vacation.
Vacation, yeah.
Trying to make their lives better by doing this kind of a
We don't do it
article.
around the 4th. Yeah, that's better. So, all right, so we'll move on. Since we have somebody here from Community Power, do we wanna go to that, article?
Sure. Do you wanna vote on
Explain
the?
this.
I'm not from Community Power.
Oh, I mean, he's not?
No, he's,
Oh, the Energy Commission, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Do you wanna vote on the library and the easement, or,
Yes. We
in
might
the
as well do that.
budget?
So everything, as far as the budget goes, the insurance numbers are good now?
Insurance numbers are good. We have the library default, which is in the number now.
Mhm.
And so if we look at it, there was a question at the budget committee the other evening. What's the increase in the operating budget? It's 219,279, which is about 2.85%. Then they were concerned about the tax cap. Remember, the tax cap went to 5%, which was about 247,910. So they wanted to know what's going to be the increase in the tax effort. What percentage are we at, or do we write up against that 5%? And the good news is no, just operating budget. This is not counting warrants. We are at 152,634, which is about 3.808%. So, I think that
So,
shows that we're not,
so about 3.81%.
3.08%.
3.08, 3.08.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
it's even better.
Yep.
And what about with the warrants? Where does that put us?
so with the warrants, that's the difficult part is, and I was trying to calculate this before I came in, and I did not finish. If the warrant articles, so the warrant articles that have a tax impact, there's about 194,000 of them. Right? So roughly, you're looking at over double, so I think you're like at up around 6 with the warrant articles, but you need to compare the warrant with the warrant articles this year to with the warrant articles last year, and that's what I didn't get around to doing. I'm imagining the budget committee's gonna ask it, so I'll figure it out.
Because if we're at 6%, they're gonna have to vote to not recommend something. Because 5%'s the cap.
Oh, no, I'm just saying what, they won't be able to vote for all the warrant articles. There's no way. They only have,
'Cause everything puts us at 29 cents tax impact, if I'm reading this right.
so the
Let's see.
operating budget itself is about 13.
Yeah, 13,
And
2 for health and human, 2 for plow truck, 1 for library, 3 for the police, 6 for a cruiser, that'll be the one they go out. Full-time
So-
highway is 4, or that one maybe. Yeah, so that's around 29 cents, I think I added it up to.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the highway worker and the cruiser are the two. Cause they won't vote against the
2,
police.
3, that's 16,
This'll stay,
16 cents, 16.
16,
So all the warrant articles, that have a tax impact come to about 16 cents. Then with the operating budget of 13,
yeah.
at the 29.
Yeah. This is plow truck.
So I'm imagining that, the 70,000, for the police cruiser will be difficult for them
I,
to.
I think that one, the plow truck maybe, because we just got one.
We also just got a police cruiser too.
No, yeah, that's what she was saying. I think it's the cruiser or the highway, either the highway person or the truck. And I don't know which ones would put us back under, but
Probably the truck.
the truck is 2 cents. Right?
Yeah, so it's really the cruiser and the highway worker that,
Those are the ones.
the 6 and the 4.
That puts us over.
Oh, it's because the cruiser's one-time payment with a truck is over 5 years or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
Right, at least.
And that's only 2 cents for the truck, so.
Out of our
All right.
budget.
It's going to be a tough year, I think.
Well, we knew that going in. It's been that way since COVID, really. Now, in hindsight, doing a budget freeze at the beginning of COVID probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. And then we did, what, 0 budget for a couple of years after?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by being responsible, now it's biting us in the butt.
Yeah.
Generally
So on the
does.
library, it's just basically the person, I shouldn't say lady, he's going from 8 hours per week up to 24.
Yep.
And justification is because the amount of after-school activities.
Yep.
And then the librarian will be able to participate in other town activities and make school visits. And they're also expecting increased services because of the use of the new pavilion.
Mhm. And that's only 1 cent for that, so I think that one's probably pretty safe. They're gonna look at the bigger ones to knock them under. So, okay. All right. Do we wanna approve the librarian? I mean, we can approve them all and and the budget committee can do their thing.
So, make a motion?
Yep.
I make a motion to approve, the draft warrant article number 6 for additional assistant librarian hours with the tax impact of 0.1 cents.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Gannon.
Second.
Second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0.
Second one, Article 13 easement. So this is the easement for Eversource to get to the new poles they put up, or the replaced poles.
Did you send us that? The link for that?
It's, no, the language is in the portal.
Yeah, it's to see if the town will vote to authorize the sale of an access easement to the Public Service Company of New Hampshire doing business as Eversource Energy across the property located at 13.5 Brickyard Drive, tax map 9, lot 42, under such terms and conditions as the select deems appropriate.
Is there a police officer I can talk to, please? Thank you.
Like the 13.5 address.
Yep.
I'll second.
Oh, made that motion
Yeah, I
to
second.
approve.
We have a motion from Mr. Gannon and a second from Ms. Queen, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 300. And the other one, we have to do the operating budget also.
Do we have an officer here on duty?
I think John
Yes.
went to help
Yeah, I
Yep.
think,
to get
Yeah, he went
somebody.
in.
yes, there is someone on duty.
So. Operating budget,
Go back to that. Would you like me to read it?
it's Article 3.
So,
Is it not,
Article
I don't,
three.
is it in the portal? I mean, I,
Oh, there it is.
It
Or
it
just in
is,
the,
you can't see the,
yeah.
I
Do you want me to
can-
just read it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read Article 3? So the
Sure.
numbers in the draft are correct?
Yeah, so
They
just
are. They
start
are.
off with make a motion. Don't do what I did.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the draft Article 3 for operating budget. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth in the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein totaling $7,901,108. So $7,901,108. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,874,828, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Litchfield or by law, or by the governing body, may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, X and Roman numeral 16, take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Estimated 2024 tax rate impact is 13 cents.
I will second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Queenan and a second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 300. Is there another one we have to vote on?
community power.
Community power. That's way down bottom. Article 12.
All right, I make a motion to approve Article 12, draft Litchfield Community Power, to see if the town will vote to adopt the Litchfield Community Power Plan, which authorizes the select board to develop and implement Litchfield Community Power as described therein pursuant to RSA 53-E, comma 7. The program would provide new default electric supply and new renewable energy supply options for customers in Litchfield. There is no cost to the town budget and no obligation to participate. Customers can opt out at any time and return to utility default service, majority vote required.
We have a motion from Mr. Gannon.
Do we want to hear from Energy Commission
Sure.
first before?
You gotta second it,
Second first.
second for
Second it?
discussion.
Yep.
Okay,
We have,
I will second it.
we have a motion and a second, and now we will entertain discussion. With us, we have Sam Terrell, who's the chairman of the Energy Commission.
Hi, thank you.
Howdy.
I'll be brief. I think this is a good plan. It's gonna reduce the electricity rates for the town of Litchfield. It takes advantage of market timing and pooling towns buying power together to lower prices.
Mhm.
And I think it'll pass very easily.
You guys have done a lot of work on this, so you'd be commended on that. Does anybody have any questions?
So only thing I want people watching to be clear is everyone will be opted in and then you could immediately opt out.
Correct.
So if you
Choose not to.
choose not to, you can, but if you don't choose anything, you'll be in the new power plan for a reduced.
So they should see something on their rates right away.
Yeah, and they could opt out at any time. There's no contract for the customers,
No penalty.
for the users,
And on your bill, there'll be a 1-800 or an 888 number to call.
that they could easily.
So your bill will look exactly the same. Just one item will be how you're getting your power.
Yep.
And they can call that number and opt out.
Very similar to
Your
what a
website
lot of
as well.
people already do when they sign up for energy.
Right, you can change after the meter date,
after the meeting.
during any month. So the important thing for the board to decide, and the committee has a recommendation that they voted for the other night, is, if you look at the plan on page 7,
Mhm.
the Litchfield Community Power Product has what they call Litchfield Basic, a Litchfield, well, right now, it was called the default, but I'm gonna put that aside for a minute. It's actually a Litchfield with, and it would have some renewable in it, a percentage to be determined, by the town after we've received rates. Then a Litchfield 50% renewable and a Litchfield 100% renewable, and I'll let Sam just share what the
Yeah,
committee
so-
decided.
So, thank you. Like Kim said, I like to call them level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and with increasing renewable energy in your mix, and as you go up in the levels, you pay a little more for that renewables because it's a little more expensive.
Mhm.
So the way the draft was written, it had everyone automatically enrolling at the level 2. So they're paying a bit more for a bit more renewables. And so that would be the default for everyone in town, would automatically go at level 2. We recommend that everyone automatically enroll at level 1 at the cheapest price, and then they can choose whether they want to opt up and pay more for more renewables.
That's very good. That was gonna be my suggestion. Very good. I like that. All right. And do we have any more questions for Mr. Taro?
When does this take effect?
So once it passes warrant articles, they actually have some flexibility
Okay.
depending on market timing. So they've actually guaranteed that prices will fall for all enrollees, in the first month.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically wait, they watch the price of electricity fluctuate and they come in at an optimal time.
Yep.
So they can be flexible that way.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what month it will take
But
effect.
it would be after the election. After the
Yeah.
It has
election.
to be, yeah.
They try to focus on long-term contracts so they can lock in
Yep.
long-term at a lower
Yep,
rate.
yep.
Right, so if everyone saw Eversource's announcement, just a couple days ago, where they estimate that they're gonna go down to about 8 cents. I think it was the day after the committee voted that they announced that. Which is interesting. Eversource purchases twice a year, so you'll see in like February and October, their rates get announced generally a couple months before, and they know what they're gonna go to. Standard Power likes to do like a term of 24 months. They've had like Keene did 30. So it's a longer period of time, and the thought process, and it has shown to be true, that the Eversource rate's going like this, and the Standard Power rate or the Community Power rate tends to be more flexible, and over the course of that same time period, you fare better with the Community Power rate. If it passed in March, they have towns that already passed last March that haven't enacted yet,
Okay.
because the rate that Standard Power is getting isn't showing enough savings to actually bring it to their residents. So when it would actually take effect depends on what rates get bid. And they will hold out until the rates that they're receiving would offer savings, because they won't start you at a rate that's higher than the Eversource rate.
Now, if somebody opts out, can they jump back in? Yeah,
They can
Every
choose
month.
more renewable.
after each meter reading?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you can opt in, opt out over and over again. If you see Eversource's prices lower, you opt out, and then as soon as they go higher, you opt back into Community Power. If you're paying close attention, you can always take advantage of the best rate.
thought it was about 18 cents per renewable that you go into. So if you want 1% renewable, 18 cents, 2%, 36 cents more on your bill, 36 cents. And you can also change the rate. You might want to go more renewable or less.
Mhm.
You're not locked in. This is just the initial starting point.
Yep.
And the renewable energy mix is almost completely solar.
Mhm.
So it doesn't really include hydro, doesn't include nuclear, and there's really no wind nearby to take advantage of either, so it's all solar.
I saw an interesting note during the research was, and it's not the deciding factor, it's actually just better, but NRPC, about 6 of the towns are in process or have already gone live with this community power. So the region seeing it also as savings.
Now, of those, there's only one that has had their default be the basic, the lowest. And I think it was shared with the committee that that town is regretting that they did that. And I think this was brought up at the committee also, that we need the town needs a strategy.
Yeah, that's the big one, yeah.
So when we apply for grants, and I'll take the grant that we just applied for with the highway truck, the Clean Fleet grant. They ask these questions on what is the town's strategy and what has the town done to work towards renewable energy. It's a huge push. That's why the state included a portion of renewable energy. So it's just something to think about if you have chosen the basic with no renewable energies except what the state requires. It's harder to apply for those grants and show things other than we've done community power. That in itself is a plus.
Very good.
So is it the committee's decision, I guess you could say, or a recommendation to go with the basic?
Yeah, it was recommended 2 to 1.
I was the one.
You were the one?
I was the one, and I'm gonna respect what they wanted, but
Yep.
I was thinking if we were 1% renewable, we could qualify for contracts, because, first of all, we said, do we have an energy strategy? And we don't yet, because our mandate was to get this done first. And NRPC did have a meeting last night, which is public. They also have an energy piece coming, that we can maybe leverage some stuff. So, we're trying to think of the future that way, but we don't have an energy strategy, but that will be the next part of what Energy Commission does. So I was questioning if our energy strategy is at least to have 1% in there, to have 18 cents more on the bill, to just get a grant for $300,000, you know. So wait, do you put a warrant article for $300,000 because you want something? So, yeah. But in fairness, we had other people on the committee, Mr. French, who has spoken to people in the public who just want the cheapest rate. That's what he's hearing, cheapest rate, so. So the Energy Commission, committee did vote, and it was, to
Okay.
basic rate.
Mhm.
And I also thought, when I'm here, the one more percentage of green might attract more people to vote for it, because they think they're having an option to not, you know, just use fossil fuels. We're opening the door to, you know, different energy types.
Okay. And they can always opt into the green.
They can, so if we do go live with this contract at basic, and they say the town wants to do something, we realize maybe grants, we should do something renewable, how long can we redo this contract?
Town meeting,
So at the next town meeting,
the next
once a
town.
year, it can be done at town meeting only. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's a good starting point. So, all right.
So I guess, do you want us to we were gonna answer the rate question?
Yes, the board needs to, the committee makes their recommendation to the board, but the board must choose the default rate.
So you're seeing on page 7, default rate is box 1, is the cheapest rate. And then you can do a second one, which can be the cheapest rate, plus 1 to 10%. 18 cents per, when you go up, see the second box. And if 50/50, it could be more money, obviously.
Yeah, so people watching, we're looking at a table called Litchfield Community Power Product Summary Table. There's 4 columns: Litchfield Basic, which is the lowest rate, meets state minimum requirements. Second one is Litchfield Default, which is competitive rate, targets 1 to 10% additional energy, renewable energy. Litchfield 50% is a small increase, targets 50% additional renewable energy. And Litchfield 100 market rate is 100% additional renewable energy. The Energy Committee is recommending to go with the Litchfield Basic, which is the lowest rate and is the minimum state requirement. Kim recommended it or voted for Litchfield Default in suggestion, which is the competitive rate of 10 and targets 1 to 10% additional renewable energy. And as Mrs. Kleiner was saying, that would help with us getting some bonds, grants for.
That's the first thing, yeah. Can you is your town moving in that direction?
Yep.
But you bring up a good point too, Sam's point also. So Mr. French has talked to people, he was the third person on this, voted. People are telling him we need the cheapest. And we had public meetings, and that was the voice also. You have a very good point too, because, and I completely understand it, is most people aren't gonna read their mail. They're gonna get opted into this thing. Do we do the cheapest rate? Because they won't know they have this going on. And you thought that was a moral dilemma we were kind of in, right?
Well, Community Power sort of said that they counted on people taking no action. So they opt them in at the level 2, they know most people will not take action, so they get the more renewable, and then they sort of saw that as a good thing for them. And I was kind of off put by that.
You can see that.
But I would also argue, and we did discuss that just adopting this plan is a move towards a greener town. It allows people the option to choose, and so that argument could be made for the grants.
So I understand all sides. Those are the 3 major points, right? The price, and we did have people who were burning wood to make ends meet. You know? So, it's and to be fair, I'm attracted to the grant piece, but are we using the town to leverage that? Is the question, right? Taking the extra 18 cents, or does it show up in a warrant article for $300,000? It's which.
Is it 18 cents per kilowatt hour?
No, I thought they said the average on the family bill would be 18 cents more.
Yes, on an average,
Average for the
average use bill.
Average.
They did do a survey.
Mm-hmm.
So, the committee based, there was information on a survey, and, although there was some question about whether the way the survey was worded and whether it was more favorable towards renewables than it should have been. 37% said they would like the lowest cost with some renewable. But that was an option on the survey to choose that. 44% said I would like extra renewables if I can pay the same price.
Right.
So that's kind of hard to judge. I think that the survey was more difficult than to interpret the real desire.
Yeah, and they kept focusing on that particular question, which was, and I feel like I'm kind of hounding on this, but we approved a survey, during some of our meetings, and then the survey was released, and it wasn't the same survey that we approved. There were changes to some of the questions that weren't made, so it kinda got mixed up, and so the results are kind of questionable.
Yeah.
One of the questions that was constant throughout, it said, basically asked the public what they wanted from this, and it was like something like 94% of people wanted to save money, and it was, I think, 52% of people wanted more renewables. I think that answer speaks more to the public's feeling than the question that was kind of put into question.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had that one particular question, I think the paper version was okay, but the online survey wasn't, there was something. So it's a dilemma, do you go for the cheapest one, do you go to open the door for renewable, you know, it's a tough.
I don't feel comfortable with me deciding somebody should pay 18 cents on average a month for renewable energy when they should be deciding that themselves. I'm comfortable with it. I would definitely do it in a second, but 20 cents a month for renewable energy.
and I think the recommendation to go the route that they went, we should probably go along with that.
Litchfield
because,
Basic.
Yeah, because, I mean, they've done all the work. We weren't there, you guys were all there, and I think us changing it kinda undermines what you guys
I
did on
would-
the committee, you know?
That would be
Yeah.
what's gonna be my second point, that we formed a committee for that reason.
And maybe in a year, we decide
Yep.
decide if we wanna go.
I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
just wanted to
Okay.
explain why you saw a
Yep.
mixed vote.
Oh, yeah, yep, and I like it, I agree, and I appreciate that you came out with it, because now if the report came back and said 60% of the people want renewable energy also, then, now that's a majority vote, considering, I would go that way, but I think let's write it out for a year.
92 dwarfs it, though.
Yeah, let's write it out for a year and see how things go, and then possibly next year,
Yeah.
when people realize there is a cost savings, maybe we could justify.
I'm okay with that, because we can do that at warrant article in a year,
And
right?
Yep.
But that is the one town you're saying had regrets,
But yes,
because they could have locked in at a lower rate and still
Yeah,
had
they did,
renewable out of the gate.
Right, but in all fairness, I mean, I heard the same thing that Standard Power, but I don't know enough of what those regrets were, except I do know that it was the Energy Committee's recommendation to go at the 1 to 10% renewables, and it was the select board's choice in that town to go with the lowest. So that's all I know. I do think that it's education too. And so the committee,
Yeah.
once they set the town's goals and the town's plans, the committee can decide to do education to let people know what the town's strategy on renewables is.
Mhm.
And maybe they make that choice themselves.
And I think green energy is inevitable. I mean, it's still fairly young. I mean, we need to have the grid to support it. You see in California where they're trying to go completely green, but they don't even have the grid to supply their houses for their everyday use. But they're mandating electric vehicles and electric everything. So, it's important that we don't jump ahead of it, because we don't like those rolling brownouts. My recommendation would be to go with that, but it's done. So I think we've already had a motion, we've already had a second, we've had discussion. So, we'll vote. All those in favor of adopting this, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0.
And another vote, please, on the default.
What's the default?
Basic rate.
Choosing the
Choosing the lowest rate?
basic as
Okay, the basic, okay.
default.
all right, I'll make a motion to select from the community power products, the Litchfield Basic Plan, which is the lowest rate, and meets state minimum requirements.
Motion from Mr. Gannon,
Second.
second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 300.
Thank you.
Very good, and thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Yeah, good.
Well, you're not done yet.
You know, you're not done.
Now we're gonna get a
On to the next one.
strategy.
Have a good holiday.
Thanks, Ian.
Have a great Christmas. All right, so, let's see. Is there any other warrant articles we need to vote on? I think so, right? I think that was it.
No, I believe that's it.
I think that's it, okay.
All that red?
So, being as it is 7:55, I'll open it up to public input. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close public input at 7:55. So, up next, 2023 surplus funds and encumbrances. Ms. Kleiner.
So, these were the surplus funds that we discussed, last meeting, and we said we were going to get contracts and invoices and bring them forward, for you to vote. So, we have the 2 voting machines, for a total of $13,000. Karen and Terry are working, with the state on that, and that'll be, done through the state. There were certain paperwork and motions that you did at your last meeting that needed to be submitted before we get, final for that, but I don't see that being an issue to go through in January. So that's, do you want to do these individually, or would you like to do these all together, sir?
I'm not seeing it in the portal, but I,
What's there?
Yeah,
There's a
it's list.
spreadsheet.
Encumbrances, it's,
Well, it's right after the red, 2023 surplus funds, it's right to the right.
right here?
surplus funds, yeah.
Oh, down here, sorry. Surplus. No, that's not surplus.
Yeah, I just went in the surplus, it's got everything listed.
You going into the spreadsheet, or you going
Yeah.
into this thing, the invoice?
Yeah, that one there, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sorry.
That's
Now I see it.
There we go.
Critical on the voting machines.
All right, do we have a motion to, yeah, we'll do them individually. We have a motion for the voting machines.
I'll
Nick,
make-
go
ahead.
Have at it.
Have at it. All right, let's see on the wording here. I make a motion, but what do you want me to say?
To encumber?
The 2 voting machines for $13,000 for new encumbrances for
Encumbered funds, yeah.
2024.
Yeah, sounds like a good motion to me. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a second from, motion from Ms. Queen and a second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 300.
I'll take the second one.
Right.
I make a motion to encumber the funds for the ITPD Police Department records. I think this was a software contract.
Yep.
And the invoice is for 56,217, which is less than the 67. Is that correct?
Yep,
Thank you, John.
thank you. So we have a motion from Mr. Gannon,
Second.
second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 300.
You could have 3. I'll do 4. We'll just go back and forth. How's that?
I like this one.
I do too.
This is a good one, too. All right, I make the motion to approve the archaeological study, Part 2, to be done for $14,142 out of the general government fund.
Encumbrances.
Encumbrances.
Second that?
We have a motion from Ms. Queenan and a second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 300.
I make a motion to encumber the funds for the police department police cruiser for the amount of $70,000.
Okay, so can I weigh in on this one? Just a
Only under
little bit.
discussion. We need a second first.
I'll make a second.
Any discussion? We have a motion from Mr. Gannon and a second from Ms. Queenan. Any discussion? Ms. Kleiner?
So, Sergeant Tessier.
Yep.
Did a lot of work on this, and we have found a vehicle to purchase at, McMulkin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2023.
Mhm.
So it's coming in, a little less,
Mhm.
at 42,656. And some of the issue which John can speak to is fit up, John can speak more to the fit up costs than I can. The issue is, the 39,656 price includes a trade-in of the 2017 Ford.
Yep.
So I would just ask that you make a motion to allow the town to trade that in as a separate motion.
Okay.
We feel that that's a fair price. The vehicle has some issues. And we don't feel that we'll get more going out to auction. I know that's always a careful consideration to make. But the 39,656 does include that 3,000 for trade,
Was it
For that.
3,000 or 4,000?
3,000 for
3,000.
that, 2017 Ford.
So what's the total for the encumbered? If it's not 70, what is it?
So the total due for the car is 39,656. There's some question on the fit-ups,
Okay.
so the 70,000 was going to, it may come in less than that,
Okay.
but we're not sure of those costs yet to say.
Okay,
So we wanted 70 to give us
To 70,000?
up to
so
70,000.
that gives us roughly 30,000 and some change to
Did you
fit
have
it
more
up.
information than that, John?
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Because you know this better than pretty much
Yeah,
anybody, so.
Sergeant Tester and I will probably do some of our stuff to save some cash, but at the end of the day, we think the 70 will get us in the car and get the other one decommissioned.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so should I amend my motion? To say up to $70,000?
And with
Then
the
I will
trade-
make a motion to allow the trade of the Ford Explorer for $3,000 towards the purchase of the new police cruiser.
Yep.
I will second the first motion of saying up to $70,000. And then I will second the motion about the 2017 Ford being traded in for $3,000 as well.
I don't think we can do two motions at the
Can we
same
do
time.
them
So why don't we,
embedded like that?
why don't we do a motion for the purchase of the vehicle using the 2017 Ford $3,000 towards the purchase of the 2023 Tahoe and fit up not to exceed 70,000. What?
Combining them. You doing a
Yeah,
combined?
so Karen brought up a good point.
Is that just-
Encumber the full 70.
Yep.
Don't
Okay.
say up to 70. Encumber the full 70.
Because if we don't get the invoice until the books are closed and you're paying it, I can't send extra money back
Back.
until last year.
Okay, so how about, I'll make a motion to scrap my last motion.
You have to withdraw your motion.
I make a motion to withdraw my motion.
Yeah, and withdraw
I'll
your
second
second,
to
okay.
withdraw the,
All right, so.
You don't need a motion to withdraw, but that's good.
Okay, so I make a motion to encumber the funds of $70,000 for the purchase of a 2023 police cruiser, which includes the trade-in of the Ford Explorer. And then I'll make
2017.
another motion of the price of the Explorer. Right?
No.
Does that make,
Just one
make you
motion.
happy?
You're using, you did it right. You're using the 2017 Ford to,
Okay, do we have to
Towards the
say it
purchase,
for
yeah.
3,000 though?
For say 3,000, yeah.
Should I do that as a separate motion?
You don't have
No,
to, you
I don't
can
have to?
include
Okay.
it in the first.
For the trade-in of 3,000. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Matt.
you know what? I'll invoke chairman privilege.
Okay.
And I'll go here. We'll make a motion to encumber $70,000 towards the purchase of a 2023 Tahoe using the 2017 Ford for $3,000 used as a trade towards the purchase.
Okay.
The money is to be used for the sale and fit-up of the vehicle.
Everybody happy? Matt,
great
happy?
job.
Okay, I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
That was a struggle.
Opposed? Motion carries 300.
It's a hard one.
Well, I was listening to everything you were saying and just trying to figure out the whole time how to
Yeah.
put it into one sentence, so. Okay, so next,
he's gonna watch the tape. He gave up.
did you get that, Matt?
He's gonna-
We should have had eggnog. All right, up next. We have,
My turn?
yep,
All right, now that I can see encumbrances, since I moved the spreadsheet over, I will make a motion to use encumbrances, I hope I'm saying that right, for the road agent for the purpose of a CEI contract for $4,000.
we have a motion.
For their approval. I second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Queenan and a second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 300.
So in the rec, can we make one motion for the total amount or is two separate?
I think you gotta do
I would
two
them
different ones.
separate.
Yeah.
Two separate?
Yeah, just in case one doesn't.
Because it's two different line items.
Okay. I make a motion to encumber $1,488 for the recreation for building repairs and affiliated.
Okay, we have a motion, Mr. Gannon,
Second.
second from Ms. Queenan. What is this for?
So Affiliated has done some work over at Dara on our heating system. The quote that's been approved is $1,488, but we have not received the invoice, so we're just asking you to encumber it.
All right. All right, very good. That way the people at home know what it's being spent on. So,
Yeah, the heating system went out last week.
Yep, okay, perfect. So we have a motion by Mr. Gannon and a second from Ms. Queen.
Yes.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries 300. Next,
You wanna do this?
Sure. I make a motion to encumber $9,000 for recreation, building and repairs for their plumbing.
we have a motion from Mr. Gannon,
Second.
second from Ms. Queen, and this is for,
This is for, so the Recreation Commission, received a quote, from Smith Plumbing to go and do some repairs, moving our hot water heater, from one area to the building to another area of the building so that they can eliminate the piping underneath the stage, which has caused significant problems.
freezing.
And to install mop buckets, spigots in the bathrooms, and some faucet controls to control, water usage. So they've received the quote, Smith just hasn't gotten over there yet to do the work. It should be in the next month.
So right now, the hot water tank is on the left-hand side, top floor. There used to be the kitchen.
Yep.
There will be no, the water on this side will be eliminated. Everything will be moved to the right-hand side, which will also remove the
Where the
pipe running
bathrooms
up. Where the bathrooms are.
Okay.
The hot water tank will probably be in the office upstairs, but it'll also remove the water line running underneath the stage that requires heat tape to run all winter long.
So no more frozen pipes.
And hopefully no more frozen pipes.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 300.
Did I second that?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, good. Sorry, I don't remember
I think you
that.
did.
Did I second that? Yes. Okay,
Thanks, Matt.
sorry.
We're not used to these Thursday meetings. We need to keep them on Monday when we're fresh.
Okay, so that takes care of that. Up next, approval of community power plan, we just did that, okay? Operating default budgets, we did that, and we voted for that, right? Up next, town administrator and selectmen reports.
Okay, so, I already noted, we'll be open till 4 o'clock tomorrow. January 2nd, is the first internal meeting, of the website project kickoff, so more information, to come on that. December 28th, next week, we will be meeting, members of planning and NRPC, CEI on the review of the stormwater regulations. We received a notice of regional impact from the town of Hudson on a garage proposed for 77 Central Street. And I've included the document below. I'm not quite seeing the regional impact here, but if anyone's interested in the project, they are alerting us of a public hearing. Monday, December 18th, I've already told you, that was the Penachuk filing, and letting you know that we will intervene. Bedford already has. January 9th, so this is more for informational purposes for our residents. Tuesday, January 9th is the last day for voters to petition the select board to include a warrant article in the town meeting. If the article requires a bond, the deadline is January 5th. That's pretty rare that you'd get a warrant article. So January 9th is the last day for petition warrant articles to the select board. And if residents have a petition warrant article, they may file it with Terry, the town clerk, who will make sure that the necessary signatures are there and deliver it to me for delivery to the select board. So
All right.
that's all I have.
Up next, selectmen reports. We don't have Mr. Weber, so we don't have the rec commission, or Mr. Lynch for school facilities, or conservation, or emergency management. So, we'll start with Mr. Gannon.
All right, so Heritage Commission met last week. I just want to say Chair Colby's been doing a fantastic job with chairing the commission. She's moving in the right direction. We had a brief discussion on the home at the former Dock Hole Stable property. She has spoken with the builder, and he was working with her and Mr. Calloway to allow them to come on site, take pictures of the building, do whatever they need to do for historical reasons.
The intent is to demolish the building of the builder.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still, that's on hold.
It's a shame because it's an old building and it's a structurally sound building, so too bad we couldn't move it down to like Moore's Falls, have a museum or something out of it.
Won't be, can't fit underneath the power lines.
Yeah, get Eversource to raise them. They can come down and lift them up. So, all right, very good, thank you. Up next, Kim Queenan, who's the master of everything.
It's winding down. All right, I'm not sure this is the right order, but we'll go in. Energy Commission met on December 13th. As you saw, we voted and came up with the basic rate as a recommendation. We also are waiting the final draft changes for the contract. We had them ready, but I think there was a couple of small minor ones made that day. The warrant article has been approved by legal. Economic Committee, we meet December 28th, 6:30 PM here at the town hall. It's monthly, so it's my same update. We will be working on a survey for the town. NRPC met last night. We went over our next 5-year outlook for strategy for NRPC. They have focused in the past on transportation projects and housing. That will still, obviously that's our primary, also moving into energy as well. So, and economic development. So I think we can leverage some of that here for our town. So it's going through a final round of changes as of last night's recommendations from the full committee. Also last night, just so you know, we went over the 5-year transportation plan and the 20-year transportation plan. That's fine. The 10-year transportation plan still has the Route 3A Corning Road on it. Hasn't
Hasn't been pulled?
No.
Good.
Nope, still there. So that is good. Like I said, it's a political process at this point. Planning Board, we are trying to finalize any zoning ordinances for the warrant articles. We meet next January 2nd, 2024. The only thing I'm sorry.
The 3A project,
Yeah.
seeing where that development is now coming out, I think it's gonna be imperative to keep that on their
Oh, yeah,
plan.
yeah. NRPC said yes.
Yeah,
So far, the first Gasset meeting has been around, he's going around the state, the executive committee, to the governor, executive council, are going all around the state for these projects where you can weigh in, and so far it's stayed on, so that's good news.
the gas station close to approval, it's gonna be
Yeah,
even
it's,
more.
what is it? It's a C-minus rating right now, that intersection. It's expected to fail in the next 10 years. Lou Karen thinks in the next 5 to 7. We'll be waiting 3 minutes to take a left turn onto Corning. So that grant was, must have been a good year with funding federally because of the COVID and all of that.
Yep.
The town does not have to come up with a 20% match, and they might even put lights there also.
I don't know about lights, we don't have lights in Litchfield.
But they're also gonna put 2 turning lanes
Yeah,
on
Which would be
3A,
nice.
so you can get out in either direction, and
That'll
clean
be
it up
nice.
to be 90-degree angles,
Yeah.
if they can, just a little cleanup.
Mhm. Good.
So they didn't expect the townhomes across the street to make it fail, but they know with the gas station, it's just gonna happen sooner.
So that's a C, but Page Road, what is Page Road?
C-minus right now.
What's Page
Corner
Road? It's gotta be an F,
I don't know.
Page Road, I don't think so,
Uh,
I don't think so.
really? Corner
Road's
Page at
not
one oh two?
Oh, and 102? Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh, we have tried that a few times to, the left-hand turn.
But that's Hudson.
Any of them
That's
that
it,
you
yeah, but-
go a left-hand turn from 0 to 55 miles an hour is tough, when you get up to Parmenter and all that. That, we actually tried to work with that, with, the planning board. We wrote to the town of, I think that's Londonderry, actually.
Hudson.
Hudson,
Hudson.
and Page
Hudson.
Road.
Was it Hudson?
Hudson, yeah.
Oh, you're talking Page. Oh, we're talking about the one that's, no, I'm talking about where the Calawa Court is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Hudson.
I don't know, it goes Londonderry, Hudson, okay. They wrote back and said they had, I hate to say it this way, not enough, not
Fatalities.
fatalities, but yes, fatalities. That's what it's gonna take. NRPC, we do read those reports of fatalities.
One is too many.
One is too many, but that is, that's high on the list for our region, but we're competing with all the other towns.
Yep.
The other one is 101,
Wow.
101, Milford Wilton area.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because really, it's 55 in both directions, and it's like a head-on collision
Yeah.
on the highway. So that's gonna probably
It's
have to
awful.
come up as a priority as well.
I
Interesting.
know that very well.
Sorry for sidetracking
But
that.
I hate reading those reports, because, we knew the last gentleman who got killed in that area, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, oh. Okay, so the only thing I want to bring up about Energy Committee, I don't think we meet until January 28th,
Oh, wow,
but I'll want to verify that with Kim.
okay.
Do we meet on the Energy Committee at all? We don't have any more. January 28th is our next scheduled meeting.
Correct.
So, quiet till
Um,
warrant articles, or we need the draft maybe finalized?
The draft, we'll have a finalized of the draft and then, probably start to talk about should there be any education for warrant article, how they'd like it to read in the town guide and in the guide.
So we
voter's
probably
guide.
need to meet before January 28th.
No.
When's warrant articles? When does the draft have to be ready?
So the draft, the warrant articles will be finalized and generally by the end of January. And then the voter's guide we work on in the beginning of February.
If the warrant article was already approved by legal.
It was.
Yep, that's what I have.
That's it? Perfect.
And now no more energy or SIP. I didn't replace SIP.
No, you didn't do SIP.
No,
Oh,
sir.
SIP, see, it's
All
all
set.
winding down. Except the
Perfect.
last Energy Commission, we really said, we came to light and said, we really don't have an economic strategy. We have a committee, but that wasn't our mandate.
Mhm.
Right.
So we're like, is the cart before the horse? I don't know, but we'll be going in that direction.
You're working on it. Good. All right. Budget committee met last Thursday where the town presented warrant articles, and they'll vote on them January 4th, I believe. So we're off until then. Anything else? Do you have anything? Karen?
No, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so, yeah, so, seeing nothing, we do have an item in non-public under RSA 91-A semicolon 3-2, letter A in parentheses, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him or her unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. And RSA 91-A semicolon 3-2 B in parentheses, the hiring of a public employee. Do we have a motion to go into non-public? We have a motion from Mr. Gannon,
Make that motion.
Second?
second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 300. We'll be going into non-public at 8:19. Want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you happen to celebrate. Make it the best one ever. Take care.